Gauteng Police Commissioner Elias Mawela is calling on residents, officers and local government to coordinate efforts to fight crime in Diepsloot.
It follows days of protests in the northern Johannesburg township following several murders in the area. Residents say there's also been a breakdown in the relations with the police.
Well, the police commissioner has been meeting with community leaders today.
I think the solution, we will find each other, ourselves in the community there. But the solutions of Diepsloot cannot be solely laid in the hands of the police to can resolve the challenges of Diepsloot. Surely we do want the municipality to can come in, the provincial government to can come in, because of some of the crimes which are happening. They are happening due to the environmental design, due to the condition of living of the people of Diepsloot. So if we can securitize everything in Diepsloot, I think we will be missing the goal. I call upon other stakeholders to can also come into play. As the police, we have tried to can put measures in place, the stabilization operation, to can go there and try to stabilize the situation. But now we have seen the crime have moved to extension 1, extension 6, extension 12 and 13. And when you look at that environment, it's so densely populated, it's a lot of temporary structures, mikukus and so forth. The roads are not accessible, so it is difficult. There's no lighting in that particular space, so criminals, they do take advantage.
Well, we're going to stay with that story in a moment. We'll take you live to Diepsloot. We'll get the latest from our reporter, Nobile Madlala, who's been watching the story the entire day. Let's bring into it, however, the DA Gauteng Community Safety Spokesperson, Crezane Bosch. Crezane, good evening to you. Thanks for your time then tonight. When we look at this issue, it's nothing new. In fact, if we were to track the history of crime in Diepsloot, it's been close on 15 years that this community has been actively seeking out intervention when it comes to the state of crime in the community. Why is it that all of the interventions to date have not yielded the necessary success?
Well, I think the problem is that we need to get the basics right in community safety and in the police ministry. In Gauteng alone, we've only got 143 police stations to look after close to 15 million people, which is, impossible to do. So you can't have, we're not according to the international standards where you can have a police station and police member for every 100,000 people. So we need to get the basics right, first of all, to ensure that there is more police stations. Unfortunately, in Diepsloot itself, there has been a police station that was opened fairly recently, but the problem is that our police stations are severely under-resourced, regardless of where they are. Whether it's in Diepsloot or across the province, our police stations are severely under-resourced. We are still working on the 2006 census. To do allocation of vehicles, members, budgets, etc. And this is not assisting us in solving crime and decreasing crime. If you look at the fact that the fixed establishment that they are using to allocate resources in an area like Diepsloot, which has increased the number of residents in the area, they do not have sufficient people, police force members to look after the community. There's also these interventions from the province with regards to CCTV cameras, wardens, safety wardens that need to look after the area. But this allocation and the implementation of CCTV cameras is still a bit of a mystery to the rest of us in the province. Even within our committee for community safety, we have not received proper information as to when and where the CCTV cameras will be installed. But there's also a high vacancy rate within crime intelligence, specifically within the Department for Community Safety in Gauteng. Now, the Democratic Alliance has addressed this on numerous occasions and have asked questions about it. But at one point, quite recently, we sat on an 80% vacancy rate within crime intelligence alone. And in an area like Diepsloot, for instance, crime intelligence is of utmost importance, especially if there is, for instance, situations like gang wars, gangster violence, murder rates and things like that that's increasing, it is important to have proper crime intelligence that can provide the police over crime information, intelligence on the ground as to what's happening, who the gangs are, who the ringleaders are,
Sure.
and where they are operating,
Crezane,
so that it can be addressed.
When one knows the layout of Diepsloot, the police station you're talking about that was opened just in the last couple of years is right at the entrance of this township. Now, given to just how vast the area is, you've got, you know, sort of formal houses, and then you also have informal settlements that have cropped up there. They then developed satellite police stations that would go to aspects of different parts of the community where they felt were simply too far from the police station. What has happened to those satellite police stations? Are they still functional?
Well, there's satellite police stations that is, you know, established across the province, and similarly in Diepsloot. But they are still dependent on the human and physical resources from the main police station within that jurisdiction. So, for instance, if Diepsloot has got a lack of resources like vehicles and human resources, patrollers, you know, detectives, etc., then that satellite police station will actually mean nothing, because all the human resources and physical resources that's supposed to be able to assist the satellite police station to function and be operational will have to come from the main police station in Diepsloot itself. Now, if they have a vacancy rate of 15 to 30%, which is the general vacancy rate of in Gauteng at police stations, they will not have any members to go and work at the satellite police station. And if they do allocate 1 or 2 members of the CPF or safety wardens or whoever to go and work at the satellite police station, it also becomes a safety risk, because these satellite police stations and kiosks are often under threat because they do not have the necessary physical resources and safety gear to protect that police station and assist the community. So this is quite often why these satellite police stations, once they've been established, that they appear to be closed, where the gates are closed, there's no one there, because the main police stations do not have sufficient people to allocate to that police station.
All right. So,
in Gauteng, we've got an average of a 15% vacancy rate across the board, with the basic people that needs to work at the police station, your constables, etc., the detectives, station commanders. We've got police stations without station commanders. Because of this vacancy rate.
All right, so effectively then, in the end, the move to have your satellite police stations becomes almost redundant because they simply are not functional in the way that they need to. Crezane, I'm going to ask you just to stay on the line with us. Bandile Masuku is out in Diepsloot for us tonight. She's monitoring the situation there. Bandile, it looks like those protests are still continuing well into the evening. Let's be clear about what it is that residents believe will be of assistance. They had the provincial commissioner there today. How was he received?
Well, I think the residents have the crime that has been taking place in their area. But it seems like it's a problem that has been historic to the area, because a lot of them speak of an incident that happened in the past, as well as an incident that has happened recently. So at this point, it is felt that when you were with the residents, that they feel that the police are on the other side and not necessarily protecting them, and that they are not seeing any police visibility. So whilst the commissioner did say that he was going to come to the police station, it was very clear that they have done this decision, taken this upon themselves, mainly because they have felt that nobody has listened to them, which is why now they have asked that they want the president himself to come and speak to the residents, because their issues cannot be addressed when we spoke to the police commissioner, he said there are various issues. He says they have done number of arrests in the area. They have confiscated guns and so on. There's some people that have even appeared in court because of the crime that has happened here. And those suspects have been apprehended. However, they still feel that the problem that the community is facing is far beyond just the police. They're saying that they need a collaboration where there can be an assistance for the police now to work with them. So it's been very difficult for a number of these community members here when they speak of the CPF person that has already passed on. And they talk about the fact that they feel that those are the people that uphold the law. And if a person like that can be attacked, that means nobody is safe. And of course, they've spoken about the mother that has also been attacked, which also with the kids. And this has been very difficult for them. So they want the president to come speak to them. But I do have the councillor of the area, and I would like to speak to him about these issues. It's quite clear that the residents are done. That's what it is. But you are the councillor of the area. What have you done to assist them?
No, we constantly have the program with the police and together with the community structures and the CPF. And those programs seems to work. But immediately when the national police decided to withdraw their force in this area, that is where we start to see the rising of this criminality. It has been good since the deployment of the officers here in Diepsloot 6 months down the line, but immediately recently, police are minimal. You can't see that visibility of the police in the area. And it seems like criminals are able to see and study that now there is no visibility of police, in particular during the night, and they start to do their criminal things.
But surely there must be something you can do as a councillor. Have you spoken about this? Have you put this forward? Have you spoken to anyone higher than you to look into such things?
Now you see, our hands are minimal. Fighting crime, you can do programs, but if you don't have manpower and the equipment to fight crime, you are reduced to nothing. So now we have tried by all means, community meetings, but still crime is going high. It's only when there is a visibility of the police in the area where we could be able to see that the crime is going down. That is the only way.
So I think if I'm clear, you're saying then that you need more visibility in terms of the police from what you're telling me.
Yes, because what the police currently are doing is the short-time period. It's for the short-time period. We need a sustainable solution to this kind of a problem. Not deploying and after 6 months, those police are going back to their respective areas. We need police, more police here, because in Diepsloot we are faced with a situation where I can say the numbers are tallying between South African residents and people that are from foreign nationals. So now, in the situation like that, there is no balance within this community, and we happen to expect more things, behavior which is negative, to happen in this community. We are faced with a serious problem in this community that needs to be solved.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. So I want to bring in some of the community leaders. Loyiso, you have been on the ground, and some of the people that have been speaking to people on the ground, we are hearing that there's a lot of crime, and the community is still out and about. What we want to know from you is that as a community leader, the meeting that you have had, does that mean that the community still continues to fight?
Yes, the community is continuing to fight, but honestly speaking, we are not happy to ban our infrastructure, to ban our road, but we felt that it was necessary. Last week, Friday, we had a very peaceful march where we're going door to door, house to house, shack to shack, to identifying shacks that have been alleged to identify harboring criminals. When then we made a call for the president to come to Diepsloot, it seems that call has fallen into deaf ears. A day after, on Saturday, 2 people were gunned down. They were killed. a day later after that, the former chairperson of CPF was killed. So the community felt that our effort of being peaceful and patriotic South Africans has bear no fruit. They've decided to go to the streets now and be violent. Hence, you see what we are seeing today.
But when does this violence end then? When does the community say, we're done, we have gotten what we wanted?
We have not gotten what we wanted. We've made a call that we want to be addressed by the president. Reason that we've said we want to be addressed by the president. The Minister of Police came here. The Minister of Home Affairs came here. They've implemented some permanent, temporary resolution that ended only for a period of 6 months. After that, crime started to rise again. So, and when we asked some of the questions to them, they said, we can't respond. So we have said, since these two ministers cannot respond to some of the questions that we have raised to them, we need a state president to come down and respond to all of our questions, because he's the one that hire and fire all these ministers. He's responsible, according to us, for all this department. Hence, we are making a call for the president to come here. Of course, we have two issues that we are going to do now going forward. First one, we are going to send a delegation tomorrow to Union Buildings to engage with the office of the president, to invite him again officially now to come to Diepsloot. Secondly, we have a memorial service this week. We need to mourn the chairperson of CPF who have just been killed by criminals. So we might have a 2-day cool off of our strike, but after that, if we are not getting joy, on Friday we might call another public meeting whereby we'll continue till our president come down to us. We don't want to be seen as hooligans. We don't want to be seen as people who don't want to see progress in our community. But what we are seeing here is necessary. As community leaders and community of Diepsloot, we felt that for you to get an ear from our leaders in government, you need to be violent. But then we're going to change a tune now. We're going to engage President Union Buildings officially. Tomorrow we're sending that delegation to engage Union Building.
How did you choose this delegation?
This delegation will come from different structures. We are also in talks with also the councillors to say they must also assist us in reaching the office of the president, since they're all of them in government. All of them they're in government. As also as NGO stakeholders, will write a formal letter on our side as DCF, Diepsloot Community Forum, to the office of the president to say the community of Diepsloot needs you to come and respond to the questions that they have regarding crime. And also, we want to engage with you so that we can have a permanent solution relating to crime in our community.
So what time is this delegation leaving then?
Probably in the morning tomorrow. We'll send a few people to go to Union Building there and then engage with Union Building. We'll have a formal letter that we'll hand over to Union Building to invite someone from the office of the president to receive our memorandum that will invite the president to Diepsloot.
All right. So I suppose then you are saying that tomorrow then the community will continue as per normal and there won't be any burning like what we have seen?
At the moment, that's what we want to address the community now, to say, let's cool down for two reasons. Let's engage the office of the president, the Union Building formally. Secondly, we want to mourn the former chairperson of CPF, Mr. John Makule. Probably there will be a memorial service this week. After that, if we are not receiving joy at Union Buildings, the community will go back to the street again. Up until then, the president comes to us.
Just briefly, could you tell me a bit about the former CPF person that has passed away? What kind of man was he?
Mr. John Makule was a very dedicated man, more especially when it comes to the issue of crime. Just to give you a highlight, you remember early last year, a policeman was killed when, as the community went on rampage and protest. John Makule was one of the people that was on the ground who we went to Alexander to fetch those criminals together with the police. That's how dedicated he was. He was on the field on that day when those criminals who killed the policemen here in Diepsloot were arrested. So we are talking about the man who was fighting crime, who was fighting criminal, who hated crime and criminals. When we're doing these toy and marches against crime, he was part of us. He was fighting with us. So we can't fold our arms when one of our own, a leader that was dedicated in fighting crime, has been killed by criminals.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. One of their own has been killed by the criminals, and they can't fold their arms. Very big statement there, but it's very clear that the community wants solutions, and they're now sending a delegation to the union buildings to ask for those solutions.
Nqobile Madlala, thanks for that update out in Diepsloot tonight. Crezane, let me bring you back in here. We know that one of the key reasons why Diepsloot started getting attention in the first place when it comes to crime in that area was as a result of the high mob justice rate there. Of course, you now have interventions taken by the community, restraint shown by the community. Frustration levels of this nature, unfortunately, run the risk of taking us back to square one.
Yes. Look, I don't think it's right for us to take matters into our own hands. It's not safe, and more people will get hurt in the process. What needs to happen is for the provincial government to get the basics right, as well as the National Department for Police, the Ministry for Police. And we can look at what the Western Cape is doing through their LEAP officers. This is what the Premier Lesotho and MEC Masuku is trying to do with the safety wardens. But unfortunately, it's not clear as to whether these safety wardens have received proper training. And there's a lot of questions around that, which we have submitted to the MEC and waiting upon responses. But if you look at what the Western Cape is doing, one of the things that they are doing right is to look to get their crime stats almost on a weekly basis. So instead of waiting for crime stats on a quarterly basis, they can get it on a weekly basis, similar to what we received stats during the COVID and lockdown period, where we could see where the COVID infection was and where the hotspots were. Now, if we have got a proper command center in place in Gauteng, similar to what they've got in the Western Cape, we would be able to determine where the hotspots are, including in Diepsloot, because it's not the entire Diepsloot that is affected. It's certain sections of the Diepsloot that is affected.
All right.
But if we've got proper crime intelligence, we will be able to identify where the hotspots are so that we can allocate resources to address this. But we need to get the basics right first.
Crezane Bosch, we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you for your time.